Hello everyone. Let's welcome our second speaker for today, Sonam Gulati, who is going to talk on the topic how to have impactful and meaningful coaching conversations. She is an ICF PCC, a coach trainer, a facilitator, a certified NLP practitioner, and an image consultant. She has a progressive experience of 15 years, has done more than 600 hours of coaching, and has facilitated programs with over 5,500 individuals. Welcome, Sonam. The stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, Mariana. I'm really excited to be here. Welcome, all of you, for today's session, which is around having meaningful and impactful coaching conversation. So, I'm curious to know how many of you already know coaching or are coaches. You could send your messages in the chat box, and we'll be happy to know about that. So, today, there are 4 topics that we'll cover within this having meaningful and impactful coaching conversation, wherein we'll start with coaching. So if some of you don't know what coaching is, you will get an overview into it. Then rapport building, which is key. It's a key essence to having impactful conversations. Listening and closure. How do you close a coaching conversation? So these are some of the things that we're going to be talking about. To start with, the conversation, when we talk about in coaching, it's a flow. It's an art wherein you're with the coachee and you both are in sync and able to understand each other and what the thoughts are and go to a particular direction where one wants to reach. So, as ICF says, coaching is partnering with clients in a thought provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. So, yes, one very important thing that coaching works on is the potential one has. We only see the potential, we only work on that. We have complete faith that the coachee knows it all, our client knows it all, and we're there to enable them. So we're not there to guide them, we're not there to instruct them, we're not there to mentor them. We're simply present there to enable them get their own answers. It's thought provoking in a way that your client is going to be mesmerized with the kind of solutions that they can come out with themselves and the kind of space they get to express themselves, to just share. Which is why the coach's role becomes even more important here, because coach is an enabler. And more than anything, it's the thought process that we work with our clients. So we're going to be working through that thought process, through the mindset of what coaching is and what coaching can do. So this is a typical coaching model that we have and we follow in any coaching conversation. To give you an overview of coaching, so we start with the topic in mind. The client starts sharing about what they want to and why they're here in the first place. Then we funnel it down, we streamline it to a particular goal that the client wants to achieve in that conversation. Because if we just keep talking about everything, there's just going to be so much. And then we cannot create that impact and we cannot make that conversation meaningful. So we follow a typical coaching model. We funnel it down to the goal and we move on to exploring the reality that's around their current state right now. What does it relate to? What is currently happening in their life, in the situation they're in? And we start exploring. So we're just curious and we want to know more and more and more. And we want to enable them understand their own mind and their thoughts. From there on, we move on to the options that are possible now. What is really possible to do? What can a client achieve? What is possible in the midst of not having any limitations? Because a lot of times the limitations are only in our mind. And if and only if we had someone who could tell us, this is possible, you have an empty slate, create whatever you want to. What difference would that make to your life? Instead of getting a solution and somebody telling you that, you know what, you should do this, or maybe just stopping you from completing a conversation and having a solution for you already handmade. So we explore what is possible, what the client truly, truly, truly desires. And then we go on and we wrap it up with summarizing the conversation, with summarizing the learnings that the client has, the awareness that they're creating with themselves, and what support would they need to finally take the actions that they would like to achieve their goals, to achieve their dreams. We got to make it possible, and that's what we do in coaching. So the premise of coaching from where we start totally says that client has a lot of potential. The client can achieve anything that they want. And we as coaches have full faith in their ability. If we have a doubt in our head and if we don't start with that mindset, we will not be able to do justice to the conversation. When you're mentoring a person, you know that, okay, I've gone through this and I need to tell them what they can do in this situation. But in coaching, we start with the premise that the client knows it all. We have faith in their ability, they can do it. You know, how we just get stuck and we want to navigate through a path, and only if we had someone who would tell us the route. So Google Maps has made it really easy for us to navigate and reach anywhere we want, right? So similarly, we enable our clients create that map. A coach is totally an enabler. He's not a solution provider. And this is a totally safe, non-judgmental space that the client has, because we as coaches completely follow our confidentiality clause that we have. So we keep everything confidential, and it's a non-judgmental space wherein the client has the right to express themselves and the coach provides them with a listening space. So what listening are we talking about? We're going to talk about it in detail and understand. So now when we get started with coaching, the first and foremost thing to do with the client is to build rapport. Have you noticed when you talk to a stranger, how open are you to share something? It could be a client who comes to your organization, but you might not really be open to understand what they do. It's only the presence of rapport, it's the chemistry that can be built between two people that will achieve you in having those breakthrough conversations, which we can do as coaches. So we don't just work on a goal or a solution, we work with people. And that's what makes these conversations impactful, meaningful. We're working on the potential and we're working on the relationship that the client has the potential, and we're enabling the client to find their answer so that even when they're not in a coaching session, they don't have to come back to us. We're building that skill, we're building that understanding, that thinking process for them, and that faith for them that they can achieve anything even when we're not there. So we're preparing them for the way forward. We're building that resilience in them. And for that, we cannot just be anyone. We have to be someone they can trust. Trust plays a huge role here. We make it that safe place for them, wherein we can totally be in tune with our client and we can just make these conversations flow. Just like color blends in water, we flow in the conversation as our client wants. And in that flow, there is that comfort that the client is given. In that comfort, they find that sacred space that they can use to express themselves, to channelize their thoughts, their energy, their innovation, their creativity. Because when you're given an empty slate, when you're given a blank canvas, you can achieve anything that you want. And definitely, we need to have good contracting. Just give me a moment, please. Advi, I'm in a. Yes. So I'm really sorry about that. So That's what rapport building is all about. Being in sync, being in complete synergy with somebody and enabling them achieve what they want by establishing that trust. What would happen if the trust is low in a conversation? Would the client be willing to share what they need to and what they want to achieve? So, this rapport building, this relationship that we are working on, and it starts with good contracting. The first step that we do in a coaching conversation is always contracting. We have a chemistry session. Before we even start sharing goals, we get to know each other and understand if we're the right fit. So, if the client is the right fit for a coach and the coach is a right fit for the client or not, we build that initial understanding. We see how the wavelengths are matching. We discuss the scope of the sessions we're going to be in. And we make sure that we have the confidentiality aspect, the safe space, the measures of success for the program all in place. And that gives the client a huge comfort when they know what they're getting in for and they have complete clarity of what their journey is going to be about. And even knowing that they're not going to be getting answers. Because if they find that out later, they'll feel that maybe they've been deceived. But that's exactly what coaching is about. We let them build their own answers. We let them explore. We let them be creative. The key to building a good rapport is always the presence that the coach brings, the kind of listening that the coach gives. So, have we all experienced that even in our relationship or in office, we're talking to somebody or we've taken time from someone to talk, and the other person's just maybe busy in their phone, there's an important message, an important email, because it's 24/7 that something or the other is going on. Technology has made it easy, time is running fast, and there's just too much to do and too much to achieve, or even a lot of leisure. So, the face to face communication, the eye contact, the wavelength match, it just goes for a toss because we're all just so consumed. In coaching, when we build a rapport, we have to make sure that we're present. Our presence is of key essence. And when we talk about presence, we talk about not just being physically present, but our body language, our listening, our communication, our awareness, our listening to the unsaid, what the client has not even said, and we can just sense it. So when we're present completely with all our five senses. The trust that we build by showing them the faith that we have, by repeatedly, any time that we meet, giving them that safe space and understanding that it's a partnership. It's not a one person job. Neither is it the coach's job nor the client's job. It's a partnership. That's how we enable them. It's a beautiful journey. And if you get to those conversations, and for all of those who are already coaches, you know a lot of this already. But how do we still get in sync and make that impact is by having these three key things to build the rapport. Ensure that you do a good chemistry session. Ensure that you have a good understanding and the client feels that they can trust you. And for that, we have to be trustable. We have to be honest. We have to ensure that what we say, we do. If our body says something and our voice says something, that wouldn't work. The verbals, the non-verbals, what we truly mean, and the intent that we have as a coach, what purpose do we work from? That is what can make a conversation impactful. That is what will get the best out of any conversation that we as coaches have. It's a beautiful quote by Sylvester. It's very important to understand that everyone doesn't have to agree or disagree. It's okay to just listen Observe and try to understand another perspective other than yours. The highest form of intelligence with regards to awakening is the ability to observe without judgment. Wow, what a beautiful statement. What if it could just become a part of our lives, not having judgment anywhere and everywhere we go? Just letting people be as independent identities, as who they are, not having to pretend, not having to live a certain way, to act a certain way, but just being your authentic self. So, the key to coaching is no judgment. We just close that part of our mind which would have any judgment. We wear a coach's hat, right? And when I talk about that hat, I talk about invisible hat. It could be anything physical that you associate with, or just an invisible hat. When you know that you are in the coach's role, and now whoever you might be otherwise, in the other roles that you play in your life, as a parent, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a son, as a daughter, as a colleague, as a friend, whatever other roles that you play are all aside, and everything is switched off for that moment. And in that coaching session, you're just present to your client without any judgment, in a space of listening, with an intent of curiosity, with an intent of exploring. Imagine the impact that such a conversation can do for you and you could do for your client when you have those coaching conversations. Just listening without any judgment. So, as coaches, we always listen to what is being said as well as not said. You might say that you're doing well, but when you say it, you look like, oh, I'm doing well. Really? Are you doing well? Is the coach supposed to buy that, or is the coach supposed to ask more? Okay, tell me more about it. That well was a little tricky for me to understand. So we not just listen to what is said, but we also use our senses and our sensibility to understand what we see. The shifts in voices which we'll see while someone talks and shares something that's important. The lows and highs, the ups and downs, the excitement, the giggles, the breakthroughs, and the challenge that they face. We understand all of that by just being present. And you'll realize when that voice is silent that you have, and it comes out of practice. It comes out of intent and practice. When you familiarize yourself with this role that you are capable of playing and trust your own potential. Because a lot of times as a coach trainer, I've seen that the ones who are just learning about coaching and they start practicing their coaching sessions, there's always a fear whether they will do well, but that'll only come with practice. It's an art that you can master only with practice and being in that zone. It's not a theory that can be taught, it's something that you experience for yourself. So we just understand beyond words, beyond what is said, and we also check with them for our understanding, because it's possible that they said an A but we understood a B. And how is A equal to B? An A is an A and a B is a B. And if we both are not on the same page, how will we in partnership get to a solution, get to an action plan, or maybe just that awareness that we're looking at? So we always check for our understanding. We summarize what we've heard, what we've understood. We paraphrase with their words, with our own words, and understand if that was true for them or not. So, as coaches, we're very transparent. It's like a transparent screen, a glass, anything that you feel that you can see, which you can see through. We do not manipulate, we don't have to pretend. We just share what we feel. If we're curious, we ask. If there's something missing, we ask. The most important thing to enable that sort of conversation is trust, and a trust in yourself as a coach that you can do that. Because the reason that you got there is that something drew you there. It's always with a purpose and an intent, without which we cannot be there. Another really interesting part of coaching is using the pause button. A lot of times, a conversation can get overwhelming for the client or the coach. So, what do we do then? The client just has so much to share that you see from one sharing to the other, to the third, to the fourth. But if we just go on the way the client wants us to go, by sharing their heart out, by having different things that come out for them, it's definitely important for them to have a let out. But is that all that's there? Or we use a pause button. Wherever we feel there is too much, it's going helter skelter, because then that conversation will not get anywhere. So we use the pause button when we check our understanding. We use a pause button when we want to ask something we're curious about. We use a pause button when we've not understood something that they share. Or we use a pause button when we realize that there's a lot of let out happening, but it's getting overwhelming for the client or for you, and you feel that it needs a direction. So, this is one really important tool that we as coaches use to ensure that the conversation that we're having is impactful and meaningful. And it's not just about everything. So, we don't have to have a guilt of not listening to them, because that's not what we're doing. We're just ensuring that the goal that they set out is being fulfilled. And if anything comes along, we again play back with them and understand what's important for them. I would be very happy to read your comments or questions in the chat box as well. So while we go on with the coaching journey and we've built a rapport with the client, we're having conversations, and we're having some thought-provoking conversations, some enabling conversations. We're on that journey with the client. We come to a stage when we still have to close the conversation, when we still have a wrap up. How do we do that? We speak to the client and we understand what is coming out of the conversation for them. What have they actually achieved out of this conversation? Have they really got something? Something new that they learned about themselves? Something new that they learned about the actions that they want to take, about their relationship, whatever they might be dealing with. It could be a professional goal, it could be a personal goal. We try and we understand from them at each and every step that what is it that they are coming up with? What is it that they are looking at? And that's when we start assimilating the learnings, the goal achievement. And we make sure that it is SMART. So, how many of you have heard about SMART? Show me thumbs up. SMART goals, SMART action plan. Any one of you have heard of it? Interesting. Yeah, lovely. So, as coaches, also, we're smart. We make sure that anything that's being shared, we get those results out of it. So, for all of those who don't know about SMART, S stands for specific, that you're very clear about what you want to achieve. M stands for measurable. How are you going to measure what you want to achieve? What will tell you that you've achieved it? What will be that state of achievement? It could be, for example, for a financial goal for a company. 10x revenue. It has to be a measurable goal. A stands for achievable. Anything that you're setting out for should be achievable. It cannot be that you suddenly say that in 1 year I want to make it 100x. It should be achievable. And R stands for realistic. Is it really practical? Is it realistic, or is it one of the fantasies, one of the wishes that you have? So, how practical, realistic is something to achieve? And T stands for time bound. What time duration do you want to achieve something in? So, a 10x revenue in 1 year might be possible for some, might not be 100x. What timeline are we looking at? Is it 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year? And what's the plan that we have forward for the same? So in the wrap up part, we look at that plan that's in place. What are the timelines? How would one really achieve that? Who are those people? Who are those connections? What are those tasks? What are the timelines for the task? What challenges could come in the way? How many times have we felt that, oh, we'll set out to do something, we had a full heart in it, and then something happened and it's just been delaying and we're procrastinating on it. But someday we will do it. Has it happened with anybody? Show of hands, thumbs up, chat box, something anyone wants to say. So when things like that happen with us, we know that there is something missing. If the intent is there, maybe the resources around us are missing. So as coaches, we make a foolproof plan. We enable our coaches, our clients make a foolproof plan. Whether it's the task, whether it's the solution, what are the roadblocks? Just like we have bumps on the road while we're driving, we have those hurdles that come in our way while we're performing. How do we deal with that? What can we do about that? So we look at making it a foolproof plan, a holistic plan from start to the end. The 360 journey that one person can take, that is facilitated by a coach, flown by a coach, driven by a coach, but the remote control stays with the client. We make ourselves responsible, accountable as clients. And the responsibility never lies with the coach. The coach enables. But those conversations that happen in coaching, to achieve that impact, the client is the one who decides that, yes, who believe that they are accountable, they are responsible, and they are going to do something that they want to. So, on the closure part of a coaching conversation, to enable those conversations really have an impact, that foolproof plan that we make, the timelines, the support, the hurdles, the resources, anything and everything that you can think of. Keeping that in mind, we close and we wrap up a conversation. And that's what brings an impact in these. So I can see that Mariana, you're here. Anything that you want to say to our audience or have some Q&As flowing?
Yes, everybody from the audience can ask questions to Sonam. You can use the chat box or the questions tab. Does anybody have any questions?
Does anyone want to understand more around it or have some questions. Questions are good, you know. As coaches, we ask a lot of questions. They're thought provoking. So, how many of you are coaches here or wanting to become coaches? I like that question. Is an HR professional a default coach? Interesting. So, a HR professional does not have to be a default coach. He'll only be a coach if he's actually undergone coaching certification, coach training, a certified coach training. Because the problem here is that the word coaching has been used and misused in a lot of different ways across the world, right? So, coaching as a profession is very different from what an HR would do, what a mentor would do, what a consultant would do, or what a counselor would do. To become a coach, you actually go through a process, and there are a lot of ICF certified or even EMCC certified. There are a lot of bodies which direct the guidelines around coaching. So you have certification programs, and after the certification program, you have certain uh, coaching hours, demos, tests that you have to take, recordings that you have to submit of coaching sessions. And based on that, you're evaluated to be a coach of like the first level for ICF, which that's the organization that I also follow, is ACC, which is an associate certified coach. The second level comes to PCC, which is a professional certified coach. And the third level comes to an MCC, which is a master certified coach. So an HR professional not necessarily has to be a coach. And any professional in an organization who has become a certified coach can do it even if he's not an HR person. So I think Naveen wants to say something, Mariana.
Yes, we have.
I could see that he requested to speak, Naveen.
Yes, I've given him mic access.
You've given him the mic access. Okay, great.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
So there is another question that I would love to answer. Let's see if Naveen wants to be here first and say something.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Good morning, everyone. That was a really good question. Is a HR by default a coach? So just thought, in addition to what Sonam was mentioning, I wanted to contribute a little bit more. There is a concept about a stack developer in IT world. So what happens is like you all are aware that there are different programming languages, database technologies, and internet and mobile technologies, which a developer should be aware of it to do his or her job. So lot of requirements in the past, like 10 years ago, you would have seen that only we need a Java developer or a .NET developer or the person who knows a little bit of a mobile one. But recent past, for last 3 years, you will have the IT requirements or talent acquisition. People are looking at someone who knows many technologies, basically, like a stack developer. That's what we continue telling. So HR is also in a transformation phase, and you would have also seen from today's morning's Aditya session, where hyper conversation is going on. So HR will not be dedicatedly doing only one part of a job. He or she would be having a multiple roles. Like a talent acquisition person can also get involved in offboarding process or onboarding process. A learning and development person can not only creating, designing, and delivering the trainings, but he or she can also get engaged in some kind of a community activities within the organization or part of the coaching programs. So there is a kind of a shift in the industry where the HR folks are going to do multiple jobs. And at Agile People Ops, we believe the coaching would be core in that shift, because a talent acquisition person can also become a career coach, because a person who is hiring talent for an organization, he or she knows about the person. He or she is the first person to get in touch with this prospective employee. Now imagine a world where this employee gets hired and he or she becomes a kind of a career coach in the part for that person, because she knows or he knows about the aspiration of the employee, right? So there will be definitely a shift where the HR would start doing multiple roles. Basically, even the payroll or the compliance HR person can start using the technology piece of it for a people analytics, even to use some of the AI. Basically, artificial intelligence is very big, right? So some of the HR admin related folks can also start using that. So it's not one role; it's like a multiple role going in forward. And our vision at least at Agile People Ops is to bring coaching as part of this thing. Thank you, Sonam, for giving me a couple of minutes to take away from your session. But
You're on mute, Sonam.
So I was saying that always, you're always welcome to talk, Naveen. It's always great hearing you. So the next question is, what advice would you give to new coaches trying to create the listening space? So the advice that I would like to give is that just be present. Just be present with the intent to be there and understand their world. Don't have any prior thoughts or opinion about what their world would look like. Just understand firsthand from them like a clean slate. And you'll be able to provide a beautiful listening space to the client. Okay, so the next question is, what are common challenges every coach must deal with which are unavoidable? That's interesting. Some common challenges that every coach must deal with. So I think it would be different across organizations and companies for sure, because there is a lot of awareness in certain parts of the world, in certain organizations in every country, but then some are still not aware really what coaching is about. So the common challenge that happens is making sure that the person that you're interacting with understands what coaching really is and not a misused version of the word coaching. So the first and foremost is that challenge, to make sure everyone's on the same page. Mine is not a question, but many thanks on the coaching process. I now have clarity on the do's and don'ts. Oh, I'm glad. Thank you, Ritindo.
We have another comment from one of the participants, Hugo. He said that I've been coaching informally as an HR professional and he's interested in becoming a formal coach.
Oh, that's amazing. So, a formal certification definitely helps. And at APF, Agile People Ops, we also have ICF certified coach training program that we're running. So you can get in touch with Mariana or me, and you can get more details from us about the program, and you can become a certified formal coach. So Mariana, maybe you could get in touch with Hugo and share the brochures, because you'll realize that once you go through a formal training, the depth with which to which you understand coaching is very different. And coaching as an industry is really being valued. It's being monitored by bodies like ICF or EMCC, who keep it intact, the integrity, the learnings, the competencies that we coaches live by. So everything. So you're going to see a huge difference. Any other questions? There is another question here. Do you have any training specific for recent graduates? So, when you're talking about recent graduates, you're talking about straight from college, anyone who wants to go through a coaching certification? Does that mean that? Because we do have a standard coaching certification, which is across different levels. It's a complete package of 125 hours of training, coach training, which anyone who is eligible for it can take it up.
Sorry, again, I'm just. So, hello, everyone. Sonam is
Yeah, no
underselling
question.
herself. She does. She does runs a community of practice on coaching every second Wednesday. Right today, actually, in fact, you have. So you can learn a little bit more about coaching through those sessions as well, especially people who are, brand new or coming out of just college before you getting to a full-fledged course of coaching, which even Sonam does for APF actually. As part of APO, you can also enroll in that. But Sonam does has a coaching community of practice every second Wednesday at noon EST, basically. Feel free to join.
Thank you, Naveen.
So we move ahead and people can still drop in their questions. So first of all, thank you everyone. Thank you Sonam for this excellent coaching session. And every time I attend any coaching session, I learn something new. Coaching is definitely so important, so deep and complex, and it is something I learn and take away from my own personal growth. Thank you very much once again.
Glad to be here. Thank you, Mariana, for this opportunity.
Thank you. So our next session topic is what is needed from people ops to support organizational agility at 11 a.m. EST. And looking forward to seeing you all again. Just stay on the same screen from where you have logged in, and once the next session is broadcasted, you should be automatically in. A feedback form will pop up after this session. Would request everyone to give their feedback. Thank you.